I'm just going to ask, I'm going to do a few announcements and then we'll get started. Our panelists are being women and they want to look beautiful for all of you. So, those of you who understand that challenge, understand what's happening. So, I'm Karen Alston. I am the founder and CEO of the Spectrum Circle. And I wanted to take a moment to welcome all of you. We had 75 people RSVP for tonight. So I assume there's some late arrivals coming that are stuck in traffic and trying to park and trying to figure out downtown DC on a 98-degree day. So this room should probably fill up before this panel is over. So make sure you're in the seat that you want to have. Tonight, I am so excited because this is a vision manifested. Has anyone been to a Spectrum Circle event before? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, as I hold my glass of rosé, and I was sharing with Yolanda Caraway, that's hiding someplace in this room. 2 years ago, this was just a thought. I have a mentee, and I shared an idea for an educational platform for women where we could be our authentic selves and share what it takes to get to the top, to share what it takes to be a leader in our fields, and to have a safe space where women felt comfortable to discuss those ideas. And I wrote 2 pages on a white paper. I shared that white paper with 5 people, and today we are here at Microsoft in their Innovation and Policy Center in Washington, D.C. So God is amazing. I don't even know what event this is for us. All I know is that the events will continue. In 2018, there are so many amazing things in store, including some corporate boot camps, some trainings, some modules around how to advance your career and get to the next level. There will be some private invite-only events for women who are in the C-suite or on their way to the C-suite. And there will be events that are open to everyone. I'm so excited about the path that I'm on. Those of you, how many people were at the Spectrum Circle Awards in March? So if you saw the video that's playing outside, that is from the Spectrum Circle Awards. And back in March, I shared that when I put myself on this journey, that I had applied for a class at Harvard Business School, and I wrote about the Spectrum Circle in my application. And I am so thankful to share that I am back from Harvard Business School in that class. And the class I attended had 62 women from around the world. It is the most recommended and applied for class in Harvard Business School executive education. And only 60 women are accepted from around the world every year. And I wrote about the Spectrum Circle, and that was how I got to go. So coming back from Harvard, I knew that I had to do more. And by doing more, that I had to impact more women. I also fully understand how far behind we are in the United States compared to other parts of the world. So it is my passion and my path and my calling and my purpose to do the Spectrum Circle. So I hope that you support this organization. It is going to grow and get larger. And in 2018, you'll be hearing about all the amazing things that we're going to have for you and other women to attend. I'm going to announce tonight that the 2018 Spectrum Circle Awards will be held on March the 16th of 2018, back at the Fairmont Hotel, who doesn't want us to ever leave. And we will be looking for women to honor yet again. Don't quote me when I say this, but this is the most impressive panel we have put together so far. and I don't want to say it publicly, but they are an amazing group of women. Half are in New York, half are here in DC. They came from New York City to share their stories of who they are and what they want to share and pour into you. Once we go, here's the next secret. We are going to record this live, and we're going to share your tweets on our tweet beam, which is up front. The hashtag is Women Who Lead. So you will see yourself, I think someone's tweeting, you will see yourself come up on the board. And when I introduce Amelia and she takes over this panel, you will see your tweets come up on the board. You'll be able to ask questions. You'll be able to share insight about what you're learning. And these panelists are ready to pour into you, and they're anxious to meet you. So just give me 1 second, and I'll bring up our panel. I hear them. Okay, so let me introduce Amelia, and then it's yours to call everybody else.
I should have left my bag in there. Can I give you my bag to bring back in there?
Okay, we're ready to get started. Is everybody following the Spectrum Circle on Twitter and the hashtag Women Who Lead? So I'm so thankful for our moderator tonight. She is a millennial. She is a baby, but I think she's amazing, super talented, brilliant woman. Her name is Amelia Friedman. She's on the board of the Veneta Project. How many people have heard of the Veneta Project? They're based in New York, I believe, but they have a branch here in DC where they invest in women-owned businesses. And as I said, she's a baby, but she's brilliant. She's on the board of Veneta Project. So in her spare time, she has a startup called Hatch, where she is the co-founder. And she spends all of her time building her platform and launching her business. She is extremely talented. She just graduated in 2014, Phi Beta Kappa. We are so honored and happy to have her this evening. I am so honored to introduce our moderator for tonight, Amelia Friedman from Veneta Project and Hatch.
Thank you for that introduction. Hi, everybody. As you now know, I'm Amelia. I'm super excited to be here. I should have asked which side of this should I sit on. I'm going to go to this side. You know what? I always struggle to introduce. So I am not as talented as Karen is in introductions. I always struggle to introduce people as well as I feel like they would be able to introduce themselves. So I'm going to welcome our panelists in and give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. So here are our lovely panelists walking in. So Carrie, since you took the seat right next to me, I'm going to let you kick things off and tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about Bold TV.
Sure. So, hey everybody, really excited to be here and love this panel. We were talking backstage, really good energy, so I'm excited for the conversation. As Millie mentioned, I'm the founder of Bold TV. It's based in Manhattan. It's a streaming live television network. We're produced by Al Roker from The Today Show. We're one of his pilot projects. He has an initiative he calls Al Roker Labs. So I like to joke that we're his lab rats. And so we're really doing experimental, socially native television and learning a lot along the way. We have several verticals for our streaming content. We have a Friday morning talk show. We call it informally Morning Joe for Millennials. It's co-hosted by myself and Clay Aiken from American Idol, who is also on The Apprentice. And a lot of people don't know, he also ran for Congress, and he was the Democratic nominee. And I'm conservative, so we do left-right, respectful disagreements, which is what we're trying to model for the country, given how things have been, a little feisty lately. So So that's our Friday show. And then on Tuesday mornings, we have a show called Bold Business, which is focused on entrepreneurship, innovation, startups, technology, and you all in this room look like great candidates to be on the show. So at some point, if you find yourself in Manhattan, please get in touch. And we love to promote and showcase all across social media. And we also work a lot with Black Enterprise Magazine. They co-host a lot of our programs, and we showcase a lot of their work on the program as well. So, and then we're about to launch a third vertical called Bold Life, which is how to live your boldest life. And that's focused around things related to personal development, empowerment, faith, spirituality, travel, and all that. So we try to get the full spectrum, which is why I love what Karen's doing here. So great to meet you all.
Thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself. I'll pass things along to Gail to talk a little bit about herself. And so Gail is unique on this panel in that she is not just a very entrepreneurial woman, but is also a funder. So very exciting to have her perspective here.
Great, and happy to be here. So my name is Gayla Jennings O'Byrne. I started out in Silicon Valley and 17 years on Wall Street, and kind of got my heart broken about 2 years ago when my now partner was about to release a report that showed the lack of funding for Black and Latino women. It's a report called Project Diane. If you have a chance, please take a look at it. But there was some troubling statistics that came out of that. I'll share two of them with you. One, 10,000 venture capital deals had been done, and only 24 Black women had received any of that investment. Other, 4 million Black and Latino women led businesses in the United States, and they generate $150 billion. However, the venture capital market deemed only 24 of them worth investing in. Broke my heart, particularly because I was on Wall Street, right? JP Morgan, great institution. So I left a year and a half ago with a bold mission to raise $20 million into a fund, which we're calling the Harriet Fund, after Harriet Tubman. She brought people to literally freedom. We hope to bring women of color to economic freedom by getting them the dollars so they can grow their companies. So it's called the Harriet Fund. I think I'm the fourth, fifth woman to ever start a venture capital fund. So a little lonely, but a little crazy, but a little fun. But I'm blessed that I get up each day to celebrate and fund and support women. So happy to be here to share what I'm doing, resources, experience, jokes.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So we'll continue on down the line.
I'd actually like to have everybody just kind of repeat after me in a heightened energy here.
Ooh, I like that.
And just say to yourself and say out loud to everyone, I am a winner. Let's hear it.
I am a winner.
I was born a winner.
I was born a winner.
Winning is in my DNA.
Winning is in my DNA.
So okay, now you can stop. That's what I do. I get out into the world and I travel globally and I equip, empower, and serve women to be reminded that your story is unique and the world needs it. To remind women that it's okay to make everybody else a priority, but it's not okay not to have you on that list of priorities. I specialize in teaching women specifically to tap into their story as a victor, not a victim. Everything you've been through, all the mess that you've climbed out of is for a reason. I tell my clients your story is about you, but it ain't for you. And that means somebody in the world is waiting for your story, for your truth, to know what you've climbed out of, to believe that they can get out of what they're currently going through. So in effect, without you even signing up for it, you become a beacon of inspiration for someone else to believe in what they can accomplish in this world. And with that, you can position yourself to absolutely transform other people's lives, to absolutely transform your own life, and to monetize your story and your unique life message to be able to create generational wealth. I'm a girl who grew up in Baltimore City in Lafayette Housing Project. Hey, Baltimore, right? And there are a lot of, there are a lot of statistics that come out of Baltimore, not a lot of success stories. And I'm on a mission to defy the odds that yes, you can grow up in poverty, but it doesn't have to define you. That yes, you can be the product of a single parent household with a dad who's an alcoholic who wreaks havoc in your life. Yes, you can go through high school and not get to go off to an Ivy League education at college and still become someone in the world, because I am not defined by what a piece of paper says. I am defined by what God has called me to do. And so I am empowering other women to claim their power over who they become and how they show up in the world. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Sorry, I get excited.
Yeah, no, I'm like, that was awesome.
I'm excited.
Right. Great. Well, I'd love to now pass it over to Chana. Did I say it right? Awesome.
Yeah.
Chana is also a founder of a company called Genie Box. So I'll let her introduce herself and her company.
Hello, everyone. I'm like so excited by what Cheryl just said. I'm uplifted. I'm feeling empowered and like I'm giddy all over. Thank you. So part of what Genie Box is about really is like taking women like Cheryl and trying to figure out how we can put them on the largest stage. So it's a women's empowerment subscription service. So each month we have iconic, influential, super successful, expert Black women curate a box around who they are. So they include like a book in the box. Often it's that author, so it's usually it might be her book, but if not, it's a book that's inspired her. It's a couple of lifestyle products. So if you're really into like self-care, then it's like teas and candles and bath and body products. And then the really neat and unique thing about us is that we also include a piece around community and exclusive experiences. So that looks like we have a private Facebook group, but beyond that we have offline and online events that are really unique and exclusive to our membership base. And that can look like access to a museum's philanthropic circle, a specialized event at Google, a networking opportunity, like we're doing like a beauty services event on this upcoming Monday, and that's going to be in New York. So it could be a whole range of things around the experiential end. So Genie Box is about a year old, and before that I was doing film marketing, mostly documentary film marketing, but still working in the same kind of space because telling the stories of Black films and Black filmmakers and getting those narratives out there. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So last but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Lucinda. Actually, I'd like her to introduce herself. Lucinda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. My company is Activate Worldwide, and I've been in business a little over 10 years. I'm an entrepreneur who stumbled upon it because I was frustrated with what I was doing. I was tired of my job, and when you start showing up 2 hours late and really not caring, it's time for you to do something else. I loved writing, and so my whole success story as an entrepreneur is by what I say, I dream big. I wake up every morning, I'm like Pinky in the Brain. It's like, how can we take over the world? And so for me, I loved writing, and I started, I'm going to the top. So Black Enterprise, can I write for you? Okay, sure. What do you want to write about? And I make sure my stuff is tight. So I'm one of those who put myself out on risk and take big risks, but I make sure that I prepare for the yes in advance. And so with that being said, I had a lot of media success because I'm constantly pushing myself out there without a publicist, which is great because you allow God to do the work, right? And your job is just to show up. So I told God, you said you open the door, I'm going to walk in, whether I know how to do it, whether I could figure it out or not. Listen, you call my name, I'm there. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a big volunteer for God. I love my job. I have 3 children, plus a bonus. I have a wonderful husband. And, my business is something that I love. I get to speak to women all over the world. I get to coach and support. I get to show up on media and talk about my story, which was, rags and on the way to the riches, So I just enjoy the journey because I love to take risks. And I don't take no for an answer. Mm-hmm. And so basically that's what Activate Worldwide is about. And we've trademarked, we've received an award, a Lifetime Achievement Award from Barack Obama, was able to be on national television earlier this year for my product, which is now in Walmart. You see how God works? Yeah. You just create it and say, hey, you need it, and I'm not taking no for an answer. So that's basically my thing. So I don't take no for an answer. I say a lot of no's, but I say a lot of yeses, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So in order for me to say yes, I had to say a lot of no's. You got that? Yeah. Are we all good here? Yeah. All right.
I'm glad this room has a great sense of humor. Right. Awesome. So I'm excited. But before we really dive in, I want to hear a little bit more from you guys about what brought you here today. So who in the room is an entrepreneur? Oh, awesome. Who maybe hasn't started their company yet, but has their eye on it? Anybody? Awesome. Great. So everyone on this panel is an entrepreneur in their own right, and we're definitely going to dive into everyone's stories. I'd love to hear, just like kind of shout it out, like what are you interested in hearing more about tonight? Go ahead.
The funding sources. I just came back from 4 European countries filled with women with exponentially wealth that we don't realize here in America. Projects from eradicating Zika malaria diseases to building complexes in Lagos, Nigeria. So I'm interested in the funding specifically and how to get them the money, even though they have put $1 million behind it themselves.
We're definitely going to get into that. Just shout it. You can just go ahead.
And I am a funding source.
Awesome.
So I raise capital. I'm a venture capitalist by training, and I raise capital from senior debt to mezzanine to equity for companies, small businesses, women, businesses of color. That's what I do.
Great. So you two should definitely connect, but we'll definitely talk about that now.
In addition to funding sources, systems and processes that are put in place to make the work that you do easier.
You know what? I had the most fun this morning at an hour-and-a-half long talk about employment law and systems, and we won't get into that, but I'm all about the systems, and we'll definitely ask some about that. Collaborative efforts. I like that. Awesome.
Efforts with organizations that can help women get to that next level of development.
Okay. I like that a lot.
I'm actually interested in not just origin, but transition stories for people who like are working like myself, but working towards entrepreneurism. How did you, besides going into work 2 hours later, like how did you eventually get to where you wanted to be?
Awesome. Great. I think I have to now follow the microphone. So whoever gets the microphone is talking.
As a business owner, you always have to, be a cheerleader for people around you, but also cheerlead yourself. So how do you avoid like that burnout?
I love that. I think that's such a pervasive problem.
As a young business owner, I think building, collaborating, creating intergenerational wealth. I think a lot of times young people build products and they think that they can't appeal to an older audience, or older audience can't really connect to them. And I find myself as a young woman uniting a lot of women together and bringing them together. So I would like to know, what will it take for older generations to support the young people in a way that it meets in the middle, and it's not like, hey, we all want to be in a music video or we all want to play football. Some of us really make lemonade from scratch, and that's what we do. How can we get you to support that before it reaches 10K?
Awesome.
And additionally, finding out how young women can have the resources where they are to start those businesses.
Great. So we're gonna do. I think maybe these two folks. We will do 3 more really, really quick, like 3-word things.
Hello, folks. I'm Rod Branch. I'm owner of Cobra Style Magazine. We write a lot of stories mainly about women. 87% of our readership are women here in Washington, D.C. Entrepreneurs, startup. We've done a great 2-parter here with the lovely Miss Cheryl Woods. It's fantastic. And, of course, everyone knows our Woman of the Year for 2015, Karen Maria Alston, which is in Stories for. So most of our stories are about women entrepreneurs and women getting ahead and doing a lot of different things in Washington, D.C. So I'd love to speak with anyone that likes to tell me about their experience. Thank you.
So really quick, just like general ideas you want to hear more about, and so we can get this panel kicked off.
Hi, yes, I wanted to hear from each of you about when you developed your brand differentiation and the challenges and opportunities that you've had within your individual businesses with social media and how you've grown your brand through that platform.
Awesome. Okay, so that gave us a lot more to talk about. So my list just got a lot longer. So we're going to open it up at the end for questions. We might not be able to hit on all of that, but it helps me kind of understand what this room is feeling and what we're looking for. So, following these intros, I know that this isn't something that was specifically brought up, but Cheryl, you said something really interesting that I haven't heard before, which is this idea of monetizing your story. Could you tell us more about what that means and what that looks like?
Yeah, so again, growing up in the environment of poverty And going through my life experience and not having a college degree that said I was good enough, for a long time I felt like who would ever want to hear my story? And I felt like I was always going to be stuck. For 15 years, I worked as a legal secretary in corporate America. I worked for senior level partners. I used to be the assistant to the general counsel at Amtrak. Like I have this, extensive experience, but I was not happy there. Like I was existing. I was not living. And I wanted something different. I wanted freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, and creative freedom. And I knew I would never get beyond that place in just that position, because in corporate, without that degree, I wasn't going to go any further. So I said, how do I take everything that I've been through and that I've learned and that I do know and stop diminishing that and instead add power to it so that I can monetize it and create the freedoms that I want? And with that, I gave myself permission. That's really the answer in short. I gave myself permission to know that somebody out there in the world, not all 7 billion people, but there was a specific segment of the world that needed what I knew, exactly where I was at that moment. And with that, I just start telling my story in all of its authenticity, all of its transparency. I didn't try to make it look cute. I didn't try to make it look sexy for anybody. I just told my raw, authentic truth about growing up in poverty and what that felt like, and thinking that I would never become anybody, that I would never be this woman who was traveling the world. Like literally 45 days ago, I just got back from India with my entire family. I went to speak for a women's economic empowerment forum. And then I came back for one day to the States, and then I left for a speaking engagement in London. But the best part was I got to take my entire family with me to India. So this was an experience for my 9-year-old, my 10-year-old, my 13-year-old that my husband and I got to share, all because 9 years ago I decided to just tell my truth and to pull out the lessons in my story. What did I learn about success growing up in the hood? What did I learn about the power of taking risks, like Lucinda said, and not taking no for an answer? What did I learn about hearing no, getting shot down, but realizing that that is not a personal rejection and that I will not be crushed by the word no. I will get up, dust off, and get back up. And I started pulling out all the lessons in my story and realized, oh my God, other women are yearning for this. That means I can put it in a package. I can put it in a program. I can teach a virtual course. I can write a book. And all of these things are revenue streams. And that started pouring into my business. And I realized the potential was endless because we're in an information society. Why is Google the #1 search engine in the world? It's a reason, because people are looking for information, whether it's about how to advance their career, how to move forward in their business, how to make more money, how to be a better parent, how to improve their style and image, whatever it is, we're in an information society. So what information do you already have through life experience, through all the mess that you've been through, that you can package so that you can sell it so somebody will buy it? Because I promise you, if they're not buying it from you, they're buying it from your competitor.
So true, very true. And I think oftentimes, especially those of us who are selling a product, forget that so much of our product, or regardless of whether our product is ourselves, our product is ourselves, and the culture that we build behind our team, and the culture that we build around our product, and so much of that is first understanding yourself and first understanding your personal brand proposition.
Yeah. And giving power to your story.
Absolutely.
Give it power. Stop being a victim of what you experience and be a victor over it, and teach someone else how to be a victor over it. And then package that thing and monetize it. We got to stop being consumers and be producers who are, especially African American women. Like, we're capping out at about $250,000 in business, in revenue. No, we need to get to the $1 million mark. There's a very small percentage of women who are crossing the 7-figure mark. I want to help women tap into their story to be able to cross the 7-figure mark. And there's a way to do that, to build multiple streams of revenue around your story.
That's incredibly powerful. So one of the reasons, as I understand it, and I want to hear more about this from you. And sorry, you said your name isn't Gail. It's pronounced Gail.
Gayla.
Gayla. Thank you for that. So for women, so with the Minetta Project, we work to fund female founders, and you said a really important statistic that I hadn't heard before. But the statistic that I'm really familiar with is that less than 3% of venture capital goes to female founders. Clearly, for minority female founders, the statistics are unbelievably bleak. But regardless, more than 97% of dollars go to male-founded companies. So when we're talking about trying to cross that $1 million mark, and when we're talking about trying to build these big businesses, how do we start to change the way that capital flows, that capital that maybe people need to kick off their businesses?
Yeah. So I'll start by answering the sectors that are really interesting to me right now, and then that's going to back into this. So a lot of where I'm interested and excited and where funding, no surprise, is going is into different types of technology. And so my focus is technology company, early stage tech companies, or tech enabled. And at this point, pretty much everything has a tech component to it, right? But what I see, and so some of the areas I'm really excited about are artificial intelligence, gaming, healthcare IT, right? We've got a graying population, right? What are the products that are being produced to service that population? So gaming, video, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, financial IT companies, right? Healthcare IT companies. Now you take that, which is areas that I'm excited about, and also venture capital guys are excited about, and also those are companies that I can put $1 million into, and I can get $1 million plus back. But if it's a cupcake company that just services cupcakes in 2 zip codes, even if you needed $1 million, I can't give you $1 million because I can't get my $1 million and plus back from my investors. So one of the things that I see oftentimes is that we have a lot of, and this is particularly for women and women of color, is that we're often starting businesses and they stay sole proprietorships, right? So it might be you, it might be a consulting, it might be an advertising company. You might have an admin, maybe 1 or 2 employees that are on a consulting base, on a contract basis, things like that, right? Those aren't companies that are investable. So one, it's not, there's a whole bunch of reasons, but there's also just the profile of the types of companies we're starting. Now, this doesn't mean all of us need to go start a VR company tomorrow, but you know what? Maybe the other side of it is we all should be, because guess what? You have experiences from where you are today that could be applicable to what we need to see in artificial intelligence or what we need to see in healthcare companies. Doesn't mean you had to have spent 12 years as a healthcare IT coder, right? But you could probably start a company that has as its product around healthcare IT. The other thing that I see is that we often do these in silos. How many of you guys know someone, amazing college, Ivy League degrees, worked at some great corporations, girlfriend came back from Jamaica, had some beautiful body butter, and now she wants to start a body butter company, right? You probably had that same thought, 3 pina coladas later too, right? Right? But what if you took that, rock star girl who had an MIT degree and was working over at NASA or just General Motors and product, quality assurance, and you took this girl over here that has built some websites, and you took this guy over there, and the 3 of you got together and built some really cool shit.
That's right.
That's what we need to be doing as women.
Yeah.
We do so many things solo.
I'd be curious to know.
And that takes us from the 250
That's right.
that you worked your ass off to do, and you got with her and him and that guy from IT, and you got some coders out of Poland, and you put something together, and now it's that 7 figures. And now you can call me now and be like, well, let's talk. Right?
I'd be curious to know who here is technical. Who here are there folks here who write code? Oh, okay. Okay. So that's yeah. No.
And I'll tell you this: half the people that have these tech companies that are getting invested, they're not necessarily tech people themselves. Right? They just have a technological solution to a problem. Then they build a team of tech people.
That's juicy right there. That's good. That's
That's
good stuff.
everybody can be.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Oh man, she dropped
Yes,
the
Steve
mic.
Jobs didn't know anything.
I'm ready to sign up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I do. I
don't know if I answered the question.
You know what? I don't even know if I remember my question now. But that was all super interesting. And one thing that there's so many numbers that kind of illustrate the need for investing more capital in female founders. Female founders are more likely, they generate, they're 35% more likely, their companies are 35% more likely to generate revenue. They generate, on average, 20% higher return for their investors. So we should be getting the cash because we are a good investment. But for some reason, that's not happening right now. And I do want to ask other folks questions as well, but I would love to hear briefly from you why you think that is.
You know, people stay in their comfort zones oftentimes. And so it's even interesting for me, right, going out and raising the $20 million to then invest. You know, sometimes I go into meetings and they go, oh, those poor women, right? Because I say I'm investing in Black and Latino women startups with the tech or tech. And they go, oh, those poor women, right? They start clutching pearls. And I go, no, no rescue here, no rescue. Now, I will cash a philanthropic check. We'll figure out how to cash it. But this is not charity, right? Yeah. These, again, $150 billion in revenue women generated last year. Now, I don't want to take that out of the pockets of those hardworking entrepreneurs and give it to a bunch of VC folks, but I think about if they'd had more capital, how much more they could have done, how many jobs they could have created, how more women could have been employed, how many products that even speak to women's needs, right? One of the things I'm very concerned about is, are there products being produced that speak to women, that speak to the elderly, right? If we leave it up to just white millennial guys to invent all the products, I don't think it's going to service me in an authentic way, right? Whether it's healthcare, whether it's feminine products, whether it's cars, right? All those things, right? So we have to be part of the dialogue of the things we consume. So back to the comfort zone of where this comes from, I think there's just this notion that they can't see it, so therefore they can't believe it. So people stay in their comfort zone. And that's their buddies from Harvard that they went to school with, or Stanford, right? And they call and have an idea, and then they've seen a guy with a hoodie who did something great, and they haven't seen a Latina woman that has an enterprise software company. I see her, right? I know who she is. So I think a lot of this revolves around people's comfort zone. And I'd like to say unconscious bias, which I have a problem with because I've never seen someone who's been racist or biased to me not awake. They were doing it. So I don't know when they were unconscious when they did. They were fully awake. But I think part of it is they don't see it. And so one of the things with the Harriet Fund that I'm very focused on, and I'm carving out in my budget, is that we can tell the stories of these women, right? Because people need to see what these women look like, right? Like if I said, girl, I got this guy at Goldman, you should meet him. I hear you're dating again. You already start to have an idea of what that guy from Goldman looks like, right? If I tell you I have a Nigerian SaaS entrepreneur, you'd be like, right? You don't have a visual, right? And then these are your sisters, right? And you don't even have a visual necessarily. So imagine guy on VC, Silicon Valley, Wall Street, he just doesn't have visuals. So there's a lot to unpackage in that, but I will leave it at that level right now.
Yeah, no, pattern recognition is such a thing. One of my favorite stories is Paul Graham, who's the founder of Y Combinator. Are people here kind of familiar with Y Combinator?
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's like the first accelerator. Me and my co-founder participated, and it was like game-changing for us. So we're big fans of what they do. And Paul Graham, who is the founder there, he said once he invested in someone who looked just like Mark Zuckerberg because he looked like Mark Zuckerberg. And he was like, this guy is probably going to be successful. Well, I'm sure you can imagine what happened. He was not very successful, but he walked in with a hoodie, and Paul Graham decided he was investable. And I think it just speaks to kind of the real problem and what kind of pattern recognition what folks are looking for in founders. They see Mark Zuckerberg, and maybe they don't see that Nigerian SaaS founder in the same way. Yeah, it's such a thing. So,
can I add something?
Please.
Yeah. So just like from the entrepreneurial end, I think one of the things that we have to think about is like, how do we get to, even if you're like because I agree that we need to start developing businesses and teams. But if that's not the case and you do find yourself in a position of being a sole founder, I think one of the things that you can do is develop a mastermind around yourself. So you can find other business owners who are, going to face the same types of business challenges, and you all have this agreement, and this speaking to someone's question about collaboration earlier, you all have this agreement to work on your target audience together. You have agreement to work on whatever the learnings that you get from your business you share with the other entrepreneur in their business, because you're both working on the same type of target audience. You share resources, and just to kind of personalize the story, about 2 or 3 years ago, I had like a film marketing company, as I mentioned, and then decided to make the transition into tech entrepreneurship, right? And then was faced with all these statistics that, did you say Gayla? Mm-hmm. Gayla mentioned. And at the same time, I met 2 other entrepreneurs who were also interested in tech entrepreneurship. And we started this thing called Sit-In, which is like Solidarity in Tech. And it's a self-styled incubator. And all 3 of us started to build tech-enabled companies. And with the full understanding that, like, you know, we're new folks in this space, but we're all building products focused on Black women, and we're all going to build something in which we don't actually need a tech developer to come and help us build. And so for the past 2 years, though I may not have had a big team, I've had these other 2 entrepreneurs who are building similar products to me, who have a similar audience to me, and that are on similar paths. Like, one is in an accelerator right now. I'm raising funding. The other one is about to launch. And so that can be your story as an entrepreneur too. Like, you don't necessarily have to decide, okay, well, this is how it is, and so I'm gonna it's never gonna work for me. You can find like-minded people and work together and figure it out.
Can I just add one thing? Please, real quick. Another thing in terms of funding, like, I understand what we're saying, but I understand what the panel is saying, which is I'm ready to sit in the seat and take notes. But for me, what changed the game for my finances, I don't mean to get New York on you. What changed the game for me and my finances was embracing words that I wasn't aware. There's a language with money and wealth that a lot of us don't embrace. One, I had to get my business right. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying for the whole 10 years of being an entrepreneur was my business in order. It wasn't in order until I realized I didn't have business insurance. Mm-hmm. Until I realized that I wasn't certified to get the proposals and to put myself in front of the diversity inclusion funds that were there for me. So it wasn't enough for me. What I realized when I started to get a seat at the table, the reason why many of us wasn't sitting there, because we weren't doing the work. We were falling in love with the passion and not falling in love with doing the process. Right. And so you have to, the money loves speed and money loves order. Wealth needs structure. And wealth wants to know, how am I going to make more of myself? And so for me, I had to come to the table with, this is how you are going to make more money for you, and this is how I'm going to make more money for me. And I had to keep my sad story of what that I shared on national TV everywhere to the side, because now I had to understand there's passion and then there's profit. There's a businesswoman and then there's a business. And so my business was jacked up, and I was struggling. I was trying to get clients and then working with clients I didn't even want to work with, and accepting proposals that I didn't even want to accept because I was putting myself at limitations. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't sit at the table with a venture capitalist. I couldn't sit at a table with investment. I didn't know the language. It was diversity. And as soon as I realized that, put it up on my LinkedIn, finances changed. I tell you instantly. As soon as I said, I'm not a motivational speaker, and I put diversity, I'm telling y'all, write it down. I'm telling you, as soon as I put diversity, it opened up the door for bigger checks I couldn't even talk about. So I'm big on sharing about my success, right, on social media, because there's people that are not in a position where I'm at who don't believe it can happen for them. But the money, to get back to the point, I know I'm just extremely passionate right now. But the money, we have to do the process. Mm-hmm. Are we certified? Go through the process. Spend that $200, $300 to become certified. Go to the SBA. Figure out what you need to figure out. Go to Axiom. There's so many different levels to this. Mm-hmm. For us to get here, I had to take several levels down to take a jump start up. Mm-hmm. And when I took those several layers down and humbled myself to say, Lucinda, you know what you know. You're good at what you do. But what you don't have is access to capital. You have money now, and now money now is not going to support you in your future. Legacy money meant that I needed to go spend my coins, get all my documents together, get my taxes in order. I was hiding from IRS. I didn't want them to know my webinar just made $25,000. I just made $25,000 with any meeting on a 14-day trial. Right? So I didn't want them to know that I just cleaned up almost 6 figures in half a year. So I had to get my money in order. I'm being anybody in the IRS, if you're here, I'll see you later. But I'm straight now. I'm straight now, but I'm straight now. But I had to get my money on the back end, regardless of how small it was. You got to sit at that table proud with your 14,000, like, I'm willing to go to 28,000. I'm willing to go to 30. You know, so you got to just go through the process. Is that right? Because y'all
that's right. Money. And you know what else? You got to be willing to put some money in. You got to put some skin in the game. Because I'm so sick of, I don't mean to harm, I'm so sick of entrepreneurs telling me what they want, but they're not willing to invest in it.
You better.
I can't want it for you more than you want it for you. I just made one of the biggest investments I have, and I've always invested in my entire career as an entrepreneur. And again, you're talking about a girl who doesn't have a college degree, who come from the hood. I didn't know nothing about professional development. I didn't know anything about personal development. What's that? You want me to spend how much on a conference? You want me to spend how much on a coach? That was my initial mindset. And I had to realize to get in that space of wealth, that's a whole different conversation. That's a whole different mindset. And nobody's going to give it to you. Success is never going to be free. It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be convenient. And if you want it to be that, get out of it now. And so when you come to the table and you tell people, oh, this is where I'm going, this is what I want to do, and you have all these big dreams and big vision, you better make sure that your money is ready to back that. Because if you're going to go and be the best, you got to learn from the best. I just invested a $45,000 investment in a coaching program. And I had to sit down and have a conversation with my husband about that. He was like, I don't understand. You Sherwood and Powers. I was like, but Sherwood and Powers still has a long way to go. And I know I'm a superstar and a rock star to you, baby. So I had to tell my husband. But I have work to do to get to where I really want to be. And that means I didn't take the 45 grand and go buy a new car. I took the 45 and invested in who I'm becoming. I got 3 kids. I want them to see a model of what wealth looks like. I want them to be like, we don't even know what it's like not to have money. That's the conversation I want my kids to understand, right? And I still want them to have a responsibility to the community to pour back. But it's up to me. I am their model. So they're going to model themselves after whatever I do, not what I say. So sometimes it's hard. It's hard to make those choices. I would rather be driving in the car, but I know where I'm going and who I'm becoming. Yeah. And therefore, I place all bets on me. Yeah. Are you placing all bets on you and putting the investment where you know you're going to get a return on that thing? I know what Lisa Nichols is going to teach me. I already know where I'm going. What? I'm getting trained by the best of the best. There is nowhere for me to go but up. So if you want to go up, then grow up and make the investment.
Yes, absolutely.
No, and I agree with that, especially I agree the funding gap is horrible and we should do something to fix it, especially the concept of what we were talking about, pattern recognition. There are so many white men or just men in general who fail and they keep getting checks.
Absolutely.
I can't even, we want to talk about failure of pattern recognition, who keeps failing? So I'm in the news business and I'm just thinking of a new startup. I'm not going to name it, but the guy raised $6 million and he sold the company for $400,000. Wow. And guess who's starting another business, getting more money?
He had an acquisition, though. Come on. That's the thing. Is that people right. Men.
He had an exit. He had an exit.
Yeah, men will put that up as a major success.
Yeah. No, and so it's what I've learned through this process of being, because media and content is a difficult space to be in. What I've learned by going to the VCs, and I used to work at Goldman Sachs, and I used to work on Wall Street, so I'm very used to being very analytical. So when I went to the VCs, and I'm like, look, I'm analytical like you guys, but I'm doing a creative thing. I'm creating a television network. They're all like, who the hell are you? Content sucks. It's so competitive. No, leave. And I was so used to not being rejected. I was not used to getting rejection in this way. I mean, I've been rejected a lot as well. I grew up, my parents were on welfare. I would be called white trash. I grew up in trailer parks. My brother was born in a tent. I did not grow up with privilege at all. So when people talk about white privilege, I'm like, I wish I had some of that, but I didn't have that when I was growing up. I grew up, in poverty, and so, I am used to getting no in my early age, but I was able to think of myself in a new context and then eventually lift myself above that. And then when I got to Wall Street, I was like, yeah, I know what's going on. So then I left, and then I was like, oh my God, like I'm getting rejected again by these VCs, and they don't see what's happening. But what I eventually learned is, you know what, like going in some, and I'm not saying that VC money is not useful, but what I've learned now is that you're in some ways like begging for them to take your company from you. So if you change your mindset and know, like, I'm actually giving some of my purpose away, like, like, don't take my purpose. Like, I'm going to find a way to make my purpose work, and I'm going to keep that purpose. And I'm going to keep, this is my vision. And so if you're facing these hurdles, which we should all be working to overcome, just know that you can change that to know that you are actually keeping your purpose, and you are going to strengthen that purpose for yourself, and you don't have to beg someone to take your purpose from you.
So I'm going to flip it.
Wait, this funding thing is serious.
It is serious. And we talk funding resources and where they exist. And I'm going to flip it a little bit, and because VC is one asset class, right? It's one product in the tool, or one tool in the toolbox to finance enterprises. I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to challenge you guys to figure out between now and the next time we see each other at this beautiful conference, right? Maybe next year at this time, to have taken $1,000 and invest in another company. $500 or $1,000 to invest in another company.
That's good. She better.
Now I have an angel platform that you could do it with, but that's not good. But here's the thing. So this is not like, a backhand way into a commercial. It could be a relative. It could be a soror, it could be a colleague. You could go on some of the different angel platforms. You might have an investing group in your church or in your community. I challenge you to invest, again, $500 or $1,000 between now and next year, this time next year. And the reason why I say that is because it's going to give you an appreciation for what it means to invest. Likewise, what it's going to mean when someone wants to invest in your company.
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
You have a very different mindset for how all of this works.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And listen, maybe that's a call to action out of this group, that we come together and, all of us with $500, add that up, and we can really, help 2-3 companies in a real meaningful way, right? I don't know. But think about that, because I think it's going to, exactly. I think it's going to, and Karen's going to say more about that, but she and I have been talking about this notion, but I think it's going to change how you think about your relationship to money and to entrepreneurship, and how people are going to be looking, and the questions they're going to be asking of you, right? Because you're going to start to have questions of whoever and whatever it is that you invest in. My other reason for wanting to give you guys that, to put that challenge out there for you, is the other thing that I worried about, and when I was leaving my former employer, that I was concerned about was either getting into the VC space and making investments into companies was one track I would look at. And the other side of the coin, though, was that for communities of color, while we are doing exponentially better, right, the middle class, the average income is improving, we are on boards, we are in executive positions, we're in C-suites in places, right, our wealth is still somewhat paycheck to paycheck, right? The place in Martha's Vineyard still has a pretty big mortgage on it, right? Probably only, X% of it is in equity, right? The cars, we're still paying leasing, right? And I worry about that. And I worry about that because we have wealth, right? But how we use it, how we compound it, looks very different than people that have wealth as well, our counterparts on the other side of the aisle, if you will. And the difference is that they see themselves as investors. And I don't see that as much in communities of color. And it's fascinating, our relationship. And listen, there's a whole bunch of reasons why, right? Like, we haven't had enough generations of real wealth to be more risk takers with it, right? We just got it, no one tried to lose it, right? Still trying to get it, right? We've got a lot of issues around this. But once we start to change our mindset and become investors, even the tithing that happens in your church that's a form of investing. You're just investing in social good as opposed to economic good, right? But if we can change the mindset to become more investors and not consumers, and we actually take not just the dollars, let's say, and I love people doing their employee stock purchase plans, right, and putting it in their pension and their 401k and their IRA. But if we don't start investing directly into some small businesses, right, we're never going to get those leaps. I don't care how good Apple stock or McDonald's or General Motors stock is, it is not going to grow in the order of magnitude that you would see if you had invested $40,000 in Uber a few years ago. You could have flown all of us to the Bahamas.
Wherever. Well, I think that's such an important.
That is now wealth, right? That's not just sort of savings and keeping up with the 6-8% the stock market's doing. That's when you start to get into real
and I think a lot of it is a gap in our education system. Like, you have to be in school. They teach you how to cut open a frog, but they don't teach you how to balance a checkbook. They don't teach you. They don't teach you how to invest. Like, and unless you grow up in a wealthy family, they teach you at home outside the classroom. That perpetuates that cycle of consumption versus investment.
Absolutely.
So like in my home, like being raised poor, I was never taught to invest. Like, I had to forcibly change my mindset to think about wealth and to even like be an investor versus a consumer, because it is a very different, it's almost like I always talk about, like, there's this barrier between Wall Street versus Main Street, and most people are on Main Street, and there's this animosity toward Wall Street, and it's like, no, like we should all be one and the same, like we should all be owners. And I think it's a cultural thing, but I also think it's an educational thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that's being said here, and I think that it's to the point that's been made by several people at this point. It's not. Of course, it's about investing in others, but it's also about investing in yourself. And I think, Cheryl, you made this point really well. With my first company, I lost money on it until we were in 7 cities. This company lost money on it for the first year, and now I'm still the lowest paid person there. And it doesn't always feel like you're letting yourself reach the top, but in order to get higher, you have to never let yourself think this is where I can settle. And I think that's such an important idea. But one thing, and you and I, Lucinda, were talking about this in the back, that I think I always kind of hate asking this question of a female panel because it never gets asked of men. But I imagine some of us may have families, and who here has a family at home that they're a few people. So yes, awesome. So Lucinda, you talked a little bit about how balancing a family has been something that you have really made a priority. And like I said, it always makes me a little bit nervous to ask this of women. I always try and ask it of men when I have a man on a panel. But I'd love to hear a little bit from you about kind of what that looks like.
It wasn't easy. I had to figure out balance within the imbalance. I went through my guilty phase of going after what I thought was my passion and my business, and my kids weren't getting my attention. There was a time where all the kids seen when they were growing up, when I first started, was the back of my chair, because I'm constantly at my computer. I'm on the phone. I'm in the closet. I'm in the bathroom doing a conference call with one of my clients. So I'm like, eat whatever. I don't care. So there was times where, I'll be honest, the neglect was there because I was sacrificing to try to find my space. So there was moments where I was doing kindergarten homework, okay? Because it's just watch TV, go to sleep, I'll do it. Whatever. Just hurry it up. And when my husband calls and says he's coming home, and I'm like, all right, I got to take off all these dirty clothes and hurry up and look nice and fix the house up, because when I'm in the closet on a coaching call, they're running amok, right? But for me, and all jokes aside, with finding the balance, I had to separate work time and kids time and husband time. And when he walks through the door, it's about him. Once he gets soaked into the game, grab your laptop and your iPad and your phone and get to work, right? But I had to figure out what was important to me. Was it important for me to be successful, public success and a private failure, or a public, did I say that right?
Yes.
A public success and a private failure. And that's one of the things that I wanted to shy away from. I never wanted to be outside in the public, everything looks right, but behind the doors, my marriage is failing, my kids are off the chain. Kids are going to be off the chain anyway, and I had to realize that, right? I had to realize life happens. But when the kids are home, I have to pay attention. When we were in the park, I had to learn how to play with them in the park and not just sit there on my phone, in the computer, while they're out there playing. I had to play with them. What did that do for me? It gave me relief from burning out as an entrepreneur because I had that point. Entrepreneurship will make you cry before it makes you money. And so, or it makes you happy or it makes you successful. You're going to cry. I know for me I did several times. But with 3 children plus a bonus and a husband, it was a lot on me. I didn't know how to manage it. It seemed overwhelming. And I just wanted to get into my passion. It was like, can y'all just give me time to do me? But that was selfish. They didn't ask to be here. So I had to make them my priority, which made operating my business better because I incorporated them in my business. Versus them being out, I incorporated them in my business. You pack books, you do this, you do that. Okay, you're great. Shred the paper, baby. That's right. All right. You know, so we all worked it out. My husband, hey, can we brainstorm on this idea? It's going to bring money because men want to hear about money. It may bring some big money. Can we brainstorm on this? And so, you know, just having those conversations and opening up myself to be a mom, a wife, and a woman, and a businesswoman at the same time. I don't know how we do it, but we're just this magical, mysterious, fabulous.
Yeah, maybe that's why men don't get asked that question.
So we can nurse a baby, finish a proposal, drive ourselves home, cook dinner, right? And still be up in the morning, face beat, like,
And can I piggyback on this,
I'm getting my iron pills, that's all I need.
Can I piggyback on that? Because we had this conversation all the time.
All the time.
And I don't even like the word balance. I like the word harmony. I want there to be harmony in my household. As I'm growing to the top, and I am going there, just be clear, I just want to let y'all know. Right? I want my marriage to be intact. First of all, because both my husband and I are breaking generational curses. We both grew up without our fathers in the home. We will not repeat that. We absolutely will break that cycle. It's a vicious cycle that can continue if you are not intentional. And can I be real candid really quickly? So one of the things that I got caught up in the woo-woo of being Cheryl Wood and Powers, right? In the woo-woo, and everybody's calling your name. And, you know, when you become a speaker, they picking you up in limos, and you get caught up in the woo-woo. So I get caught up in the woo-woo. And I never changed in terms of being humble. I've always been a humble person. But I started almost prioritizing my business over my relationship with my husband. And so I would come home from a speaking gig, and I've been gone all weekend. Meanwhile, this man has been home taking care of our kids for the whole weekend. And I come home, and he wants to be intimate. And I'm like, I'm so tired. You know, I just got back from the speaking engagement, blah, 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 right? I got all of these excuses. And I'll never forget, I was in this space where I really just wanted my marriage to be over. I was like, I can't do this because I'm doing this for us. I didn't understand what he didn't understand about that. And a sister, it was a fellow entrepreneur, very successful woman, who put me in check. She said, stop saying that. Stop saying that you're doing it for y'all because you're not. You're doing it for you. He didn't sign up for this.
That's right.
See, we've been married 17 years in. So when he married me, I was a corporate girl who went to work at 8:30 and came home at 5. I wasn't traveling all over the world. Oh, babe, I'm going to be gone again in 2 more weeks. Oh, and then I'm going to be flying here, and you got to do this with the kids. And I was home. So I interrupted our norm. He didn't sign up for that. And so when he doesn't sign up for that, it's up to you to make sure that you put extra effort into making him comfortable. So I would come home from a speaking engagement, and I didn't want to be into because I'm tired. And I said, well, wait a minute. I had to have this conversation with this sister, and I had to check myself and say, if someone called me right now, let's say I just got back from a speaking engagement, and said, Cheryl, we got $10,000 for you, girl. We want you to come and speak. I'd be like, pum, pum, beat face, out the house, gone. What you need? Yes, you got to live your purpose and your passion. And I'll be on that stage, and I will tear that microphone up for that $10,000. So why don't I value my marriage the same way? And I had to check myself. So now I make sure, and you got to know your man. You got to know his cycle. Yes. You got to know when there's tension in going on. He needs some, but you got to pay attention. You got to really pay attention. He's like, yeah, the man in front agreeing, like, yes. And then I put myself in his shoes and say, if he was gone all the time, and all I'm seeing in all these amazing selfies, all over the world, with all these people that we don't even know, how would I feel? And so I owe it to my husband and I owe it to my family to put in some extra effort to make him feel comfortable and know, baby, I'm not growing without you. We're growing together. Yeah. We're going there together. So you got to just sacrifice.
And last thing,
we could do a workshop on that.
We should. We should. But last thing.
Make sure men are coming and listening.
That's right.
And the last, with my husband, the same person that he would see on TV is the same person I want him to come home to. So I would take that chicken fried shirt off, right? And I would put my little, you know, we got to, all right? And then as soon as he turned on the game, ladies, it's like, but I still make sure that I look good for him. Mm-hmm. I smell good. I'm lotion. It's the upkeep, right? It's the upkeep. So it's also taking care of home is so important. Yes. Because I would miss out on the nookie too, and that was a bit like, you want what? Oh, let me act like I'm asleep. You know, but and with the kids, it's like, go ahead, just eat whatever. Like you want what? Pancakes? All right, go ahead, do the pancakes. But it was causing what Cheryl was talking about. I want harmony, and it was causing an imbalance and just causing an uproar in the household. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my family so I could smile on TV and say I'm the activator and everybody in my house is deactivated.
Right.
Yeah. This is all so important, and I'm really glad that we paused to talk about it for a little while. There's something that you said a little while ago, probably a couple minutes ago, Lucinda, that I really wanted to hear more about from Chana, because we talked about it a little bit in the back, which is how you avoid burnout. And so Chana, you talked a little bit about how you hold on to your personal brand and navigate those ups and downs and prevent that burnout. And could you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like for you?
Yeah. So I think a lot of what everyone's talking about today is like mindset. Like it's like so I'm in the middle of my entrepreneur journey, and I realized I had a very, very, very unhealthy relationship to money. Like when I thought of money, I'd be like, oh man, I have to pay this, or oh man, I have to do this, or oh man, this bill I have, or this, or I'm never gonna have enough to be able to do this, or you know, who can give me this, or like I need to take out this. It was just all like struggleville. It was all like, this is a battle. I'm battling with this energy source. Like, oh, it's all like it's never for me. No one ever wants to give me like. It was like all these really, really kind of negative mindsets when it comes to just an energy source. Like it's just literally something that's here for us to exchange with each other around goods and services, and that's it. It doesn't define me. It doesn't define you. It doesn't say any, like it doesn't have any control over us in the way that it's been pushed on us, especially if you come from a background that isn't like, you know, a very wealthy background. I grew up working class. And so I feel like one of the things that I had to do was really look at the stories that I was telling myself and the language that I was using to talk to myself. Like a very, very critical, harsh language. Anytime I did anything wrong, I have this little person inside of my head criticizing every single thing that I did. And it actually took one of my genies to tell me this, because I had like this big event at Google, and I told her about how I was like super depressed afterwards because of all these different things that were happening within the business. And she was like, I'm going to use this word B. She was like, that bitch. She was like, that bitch. She was like, do you have, you know, if that was a friend, like if a friend of yours sat in front of you right after you just did something really great and started talking to you like, you didn't do this, or you didn't do that, or here's this going on, you'd be like, bitch, what's wrong with you? You know, you wouldn't accept it. You would think that it was completely absurd. You would like, you know, tell her to go somewhere with herself. So why do you let that person occupy any amount of space in your head?
That's good.
So like the fact that you let that person occupy any space in your head, that tells you that there is a challenge that you need to overcome as an entrepreneur versus everything else that you're working on. You know what I mean? Like if you have these like, if you're sitting here talking all this foolishness, saying this, it doesn't matter what the VC conversation is, or doesn't matter what, the customer says to you, because you already have an internal dialogue that is so jacked up. So the way I take care of myself is actively working on that internal dialogue. And it's a struggle. Sometimes I give myself permission to just sit and cry and just, okay, I'm gonna put my alarm on for 5 minutes. You're gonna go ahead and boo-hoo. You're gonna turn it off, and then you're gonna get up and you're gonna go in the mirror. You're gonna smile. You're gonna do whatever you need to do to get out of this, But I'm like super intentional about changing my entire mindset, because I think the mindset is the root of everything. It does not. There's abundance in this universe. There's so much air. Like, look at we have so much air that we're breathing every single day. I mean, there's like the roads. Like, there's just so much abundance that's all around us all the time. So, and we have a president. I'm sorry if there's any Trump fans, but who is like a royal F up, right? Like, he messes up all the time. So if he can mess up and be the president of the United States, I think I can have a little bit of room.
That's also wonderful. So, right, and the thing is, if you're not taking care of yourself, there's no way you can take care of a company. There's no way that you can take care of your customers. There's no way that you can take care of your partners. So I think that's so important. And
I think a big thing, what I'm hearing from all of this, is that it's about boundaries, right? Like, you work at corporate America, and to your point, right, you can sort of 9 to 5, you get home, you can shut it off, right? When you're an entrepreneur, there's just no boundaries unless you create them. So I think a lot of what you're saying is, and you even started in your introduction by like saying no. Like, you have to get really good at saying no.
Yeah, and I think
otherwise,
that's
as an entrepreneur, you're just on all the time.
Yeah, there's a book that I would recommend. If I can recommend a book about self-care, Ariana Huffington's book called Thrive. If you haven't read it, it's all about Thrive. Because she talks about in the intro of the book how, I think it was like a year or two into the HuffPost, she was working so hard that she ended up like just exhausting herself, and she fainted, she fell, and she hit her head on the desk, and she was lying in a pool of blood. And she was like, and yet I was on the magazine covers, like, I was the successful one, but by any definition of the word, lying on the floor in a pool of blood, that ain't successful. So it was all about like how can she get real success, which is about thriving, which is internal thriving. And it's a great book on self-care, and a lot of it is like the mental, like you were saying, the stories that you tell yourself. That is the true self-care. I think when we think of self-care, we think of like, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta look good, I gotta buy that dress. But self-care, I think, really starts more with your brain and the stories that you tell yourself.
Great.
And I think too many of us are also starting, too many of us are creating jobs for ourselves. We're not creating businesses, we're creating another job, which means everything is dependent upon us. I gotta service it, I gotta be there to do it. Look, stop acting like you are the only brilliant person in your circle. When you start to open your mind up and say, okay, maybe, there's that saying that, oh, if you want it done right, what? Do it yourself. Abandon that immediately. Because that doesn't mean you can have amazing people in your team who do it just as great as you. Maybe they do it exactly the way that you would.
Or you hire someone who does it better.
Yeah, or better. Maybe they won't do it exactly the way you would, but is it efficient? Is it effective? Does it accomplish the thing that is the ultimate outcome? Then why are you putting everything on your lap? Now you're going in from one job to another job. Like, be the CEO for real. Boss some people around. Tell some other people what to do, and you're also allowing them to step up to their ability, to their next level. So by you trying to do it all on your own, you're being selfish, because now you're not creating a space for anybody else to grow in their lane of greatness. So I believe in letting other people grow in their lane of greatness. I'm like, you the tech, okay, you my tech person. Okay, you the content writer. Okay, you're this person, right? Yeah. So stop creating a job for yourself and create a real business where you can go away to the Bahamas for 2 weeks or a month, and your company is still running without you. That's when you know that you have created a business, not a job.
Yeah, something I always say that I always say to
We're
trying to start to get moved towards closing things down, because I want to make sure we have time for questions. So if you don't mind, I want to ask one more question of Carrie, because I don't even know if I've asked you a question yet. So I have a question for Carrie, and then I'm going to ask one more question of everyone up here, and then turn things over for questions, so we have time for that. So one thing that got brought up here was this idea of systems, and one thing that I heard you say, Carrie, and I know this is the case for everyone up here, is that you're the CEO of your company, but you're also getting on. You're part of the program. You're co-anchoring. So how do you build those? What are those important systems for you to set up at the early stages of your business that allow you to be a part of the product and then also be able to be a great executive of your business?
Yeah, no, that's, I had to do exactly everything that you just said about not wanting to do it all myself. And really, there's a good phrase I think that sums it up well, is that, a real leader creates other leaders, not followers.
Right.
And I think a lot of people say like, oh, I need followers in order to be successful. It's like, no, actually you're creating other leaders. So when I changed my mindset, that helped me learn to actually separate myself from my business so that I could then pursue my things that are related to talent and being the face of the company. So I do a lot of work on MSNBC and Fox News. I've been on Bill Maher on HBO. In fact, I was on Fox News last week and Donald Trump actually retweeted me. So I have a lot of family who love Trump. Like I said, where I grew up, people love Trump. So I didn't vote for him, but I know why they did. And so I respect where they're coming from, and what I'm trying to do with my platform is to bring people together and bring people to someone asked a question about diversity and generational diversity and how to have a product that appeals to other generations. I see millennial startups in the news space, which is what I'm in, and I see a lot of times they're insulting old people, and they make articles or TV videos about insulting how old people just don't get it. And I'm like, these people are stupid. Do you not want more readers? This should really be about understanding the wisdom that your elders have and translating that into making a better product for your peers. So I believe in diversity of all kinds. I believe in generational diversity, racial diversity, gender diversity, geographic diversity, economic diversity. And to me, that is true diversity. And the way that I try to incorporate that into the business is, again, to try to make leaders of all kinds, and to not just make followers.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's so important. So I want to make sure we get time for questions. So there was folks, everyone here was kind of asking these different questions about, or putting out these different topics around transitions or starting your business. So what I'd like to hear from everyone here, instead of asking a more specific question, I'd like to hear about a moment that you felt was really critical to your career, whether it was starting your company, whether it was transitioning from corporate to building your own thing. What was that moment that you feel like you reflect on and really, in a big way, defines where you are right now? And I'll let whoever comes up with it first go for it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So I'm curious to hear about a moment that was really impactful on your career, a moment maybe of transition, a moment of beginning something, maybe a moment of deciding that you had to close something down, fire a customer. What is that moment for you that you feel like was really, maybe you see as a climax or maybe a low point of your career that you hold with you right now?
I think for me it was getting to a place where I valued myself enough to know that wherever God placed me, I belonged in that room. So when I first started speaking, I had no real experience, if you will. I always tell people I felt like I was unqualified, but I was called. And I think being called to do something supersedes everything else, every letter behind your name, every degree, every certification. But I would go into spaces, and maybe this is, impacts some people now who are just starting. And there would be people who were already where I wanted to be, and they would look through me. Have you ever been in a space where somebody just looks through you as though you don't belong? And I had so many experiences like that where people who I admired and respected just looked through me as though I didn't belong there. But I tell people all the time, and they give you the look how did you end up here? How did you end up on this platform? I've been speaking for 20 years and you've been in it for 2 minutes. How did you end up here? And I tell people all the time, God ushers me in through the back door, the VIP entrance that you didn't know nothing about. That's how I got here. But truthfully, it's through hard work. It's through persistence. It's through continuing to show up. And the moment that I valued that I belonged in every room where I was, every stage, every opportunity, and that also impacted my value of myself, impacted what I was charging. So I went from charging coins or doing stuff for free to saying, this is my fee. And then I became very comfortable with silence, Because I would say in the past, I would say what my fee was, and then I would hear silence and get scared and start backpedaling. But I understand if it's not in your budget, we can negotiate. And now I'm backpedaling out of my own value. And now I'm not afraid of silence. I state what my fee is because I already know what the value is that I'm going to deliver when I get on your stage. And so it's up to you to decide and determine if you want your audience to benefit from that value. So now I state my fee and I'm quiet because now the ball is in your court. Game changer. Game changer.
That's awesome. So I feel like that's a problem that particularly afflicts women, and being comfortable with just talking about money, putting yourself out there, and standing your ground.
Yes.
That's you're already well on your way to claiming your value.
Absolutely.
So for me, there was a transition from working to then being an entrepreneur to now embracing being a single mother because I decided to become an entrepreneur, to now running a business, becoming successful, now saying that I'm ready for love. So there were several different transitions. And so understanding for me, I had to kind of up level and become a different woman, not in the sense of a different woman, but I had to embrace different skills, embrace who I was at every single door. So every door required a different Lucinda. Lucinda, you can't think like that no more. Lucinda, you can't say things like that no more. Lucinda, now you can't dress like that no more. All right, Lucinda, now it's time to change your story. All right, so every door required me to become a different woman. And so that was a big portion of my transition. And also to understand that my passion didn't equal my purpose. I shared this on my video yesterday. Just because I was passionate about something didn't mean that I was operating in my purpose. Those were two separate pieces. And my passion may not yield me the finances or the wealth that I need, but my purpose has no other choice but to, because God is always going to equip us with what we need, when we need it, if we show up, and we are grateful for it. So for me, it was understanding that my passion and my purpose may not be the same. I could bake a mean cake. Does that mean that I need to open up a bakery? No. And so I had to release what others had put on me of, well, Lucinda, you're great at this. You should go after that. And after years of trying to be what other people said that I was great at, I had to realize I'm great. Like, I was great. Why? Because I'm going to put forth 110% in whatever I do. And that's just that. So listen, I learned how to do lash. I'm going to learn how to be a great lash person. So for me, with all the dramatics, I had to learn that what am I going to be great at? And am I going to allow this greatness, am I going to follow this greatness? Because it's who I'm becoming, not who I am now. So just because I was a single mother, still trying to figure things out, still trying to pay bills and have pride, didn't necessarily mean that I shouldn't focus on who I was becoming. And that's my whole thing with vision boards. And I'll talk to vision boards till the vision boards are over because they're in Walmart now and I'm getting paid. but so for me, it was putting on my vision board, what did I desire? And am I willing to put forth the effort to get there? And if so, that'll help me with my transition from being single with children to finding the love of my life, because I was clear on who I wanted and why I deserved the best. And so it was all up to me in that transition to make it successful, because some transitions are not going to be successful because you really don't have your all in it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Yay, Karen!
So here's my question, and I definitely, each of you are in different stages of your growth of your businesses, and to Cheryl's point, you and Lucinda are creating businesses that will be larger than both of you. My question for each of you is growth and navigating rapid growth, which is a challenge I'm dealing with right now with Spectrum Circle. because it's overwhelming, everything that comes at you. And you can't respond to everything, but you also have to ride the wave of growth. So if you could each speak quickly on how you're navigating growth in your businesses. Thank you.
Ooh, I have an answer. Just because I just watched this video that I would recommend, it was with Oprah, so you know it's good. She gave a seminar to Stanford, the graduate school of business. It was amazing, and I just watched it, and one of the things was about that question of, well, it wasn't growth per se, but it's very applicable. And I think actually it was about her, when she was starting her network, Oprah Winfrey Network, to transition from being the one single contributor show to creating a whole network. Again, she's creating leaders, not just followers who watch her show. So she went through a lot of trouble when she was getting the network set up, and there was problems with the management, getting the right CEO and all that. And a lot of the investors and people in the media were saying, oh, she's failing. And she said in the video, she's like, I had to silence everything out and basically put blinders on and say, like, what is my next best move? What is my next single best move? Like, don't worry about like 20 moves from now. Don't worry about 10 moves from now. It's like the next best move. And then you just follow that intuition, and then you go to the next best move. And when I heard that, I was like, you know, that's actually, like, I found that in my life to be true, in that, you know, there are a lot of failures that I have been through in my life, but looking back now, I don't think of them as failures. Like, I put the word failure in quotes. Like, failure is really just an interpretation of the event that just happened. So if you can just think about that next best move, then that will silence all the chaos that's around you.
Yeah, I'm not a panelist, but our company right now, we were two people in February, and we'll be 20 at the end of this month. And what we do is something really similar to that. For every person, they have like a personal mission. Like, your mission is, even the operations person, their mission is to be a forcing function for focus. So allow everyone else to focus. And by creating that mission, that every time somebody comes into work, they're like, I know what I'm doing because I have a personal mission today. I found that to be really helpful, and really helpful for me to know my mission and to know where what is the limit of what I can accomplish and not get distracted by all of those details. So that really resonates with me as an idea.
Delegating for me, because I have the business. Now we're working on building halfway houses, so it's a lot, you know. And so for me, it's the delegating. I try to delegate everything out. So with growth comes growing pains, and they hurt really, really bad because it can make you swim or sink. But it's the delegation and also knowing what else you need to put to the side. Like, I do a big production every year of a conference, but it's time for me. God is calling me to do something else larger. And so as much as I love doing it, I have to put it to the side because there's other things that I'm building. So it's also the sacrifice, you know, in terms of the growth process of, all right, you may have to put this to the side or delegate it to somebody else. And so delegating.
And I would say a combination between collaborating and also allowing myself to explore new things that scare me to death.
Yes.
But I know that the opportunity was presented to me for a reason, specifically for growth. So I just got an invitation, and I was like, why are they calling me? I just got an invitation from this dynamic organization, and they said, we want you to be on our leadership council. It's a paid position. It's not a job. It's just you sit on the board and you give advice. I'm like, really? You gonna pay me for that? So you gonna pay me just to be on the council? That's number one. New revenue stream. How about that, right? And then they're like, okay, we're looking for these amazing speakers who can, you know, go and we'll pay you this much every time you speak up for us, and we just want you to do exactly what you do. For real? Like, for real. So I get on this introduction call, and I'm listening to the other people introduce themselves. And there's this guy who is currently serving on the management team for the Atlanta Braves. And there's a gentleman who is a veteran for the San Diego Chargers. And there's a woman who's currently serving on the Georgia House of Representatives. And I'm just listening to all of these people that God has aligned me with.
Come on.
And here I am coming into the call talking about, yeah, I'm sure we're from the hood, but I know I belong here, right? Like, just opening my mind up to growth by saying yes to the spaces that scare me so much, the spaces where I feel like I'm the rookie in the room. but the rookie is going to show you some stuff. Like there's a reason. Like I said earlier, I belong in this space. So just giving myself permission to say yes to those opportunities, even when I don't really understand clearly why I'm there yet, I say yes, because we're talking now going from, you know, the local pond to the global ocean.
That's right.
Like, I don't just want to be popular in the local pond. I want global impact. And that means I have to be open to global opportunities that position me in places that are very scary. And I think the second part of that is just collaborating with people who are amazing at what they do. So one of the things I'm rolling out at my conference this year is, instead of you signing up for a package and I'm doing all the training, nope, this person is doing training on mindset. This person over here, they're doing training on infrastructure. This person right here is doing training on operations. This person is doing training on systems. And so I am now connecting my brand to other credible, reputable brands that I know, like, and trust, to say, why am I doing all the teaching? Why am I doing all the training? I'm going to train on what I'm good at, what I own, which is the speaker space. But everything else, I'm going to bring you in, and I'm going to stop being afraid to bring other people into my network. Because people, we so afraid somebody's going to take, ain't nobody taking nothing from you that belongs to you.
Right.
Nothing. And so I've decided and made a decision. Growth means I have to expand my mindset about bringing other people into my network, and that's just what it is.
So I want to be conscious of time. What time should we? 2 more questions. Okay.
Hi, my name is Trinace Richardson, and this has been amazing. Just freaking amazing. Really wonderful. I have a question about mentorship. I am very passionate about community, so much so that my business is Real Women, and we create a safe space for women to do real work on themselves. So no matter what your position or your title is, there's a safe space for you to be just the woman that you are in that space. And so big on community. And I think some of the disparity that you talked about, that's gender, is based on the fact that the Old Boys Network is in place, and they will help each other and show each other, and you can shadow this person and do that. To what degree do you see the importance of mentorship, and how should we be positioning ourselves to mentor as because whatever stage we are, there's someone who hasn't reached that stage yet. But at the same time, where we are in our businesses or growing or aspiring, where we are, what should we be doing to look toward mentors? And so just where are you in the space as it relates to mentorship?
I have so many, real quick, I have so many great mentees that I was able to meet through this organization called WEAN. So there's 2 sides of my mentorship. I come from the concrete jungle. I've been through incarceration as a freshman in college. So I mentor women to reduce recidivism, right? So that's one side of it. Then there's the organization with WEAN and some other organizations that I partnered up with. But I think it's so key for us. There's so many women organizations out there that need that mentorship. And there's no age in terms of it. It's just in terms of finding that mentor who's truly going to help you get access and information. And then there's the mentee side. Are you hungry enough to do the work? Back to the process. So I've been blessed to be both sides. I have my mentors, but I also spend a lot of time. My mentees are off the chain. They're so sick. I love them. They're so good at what they do on both sides. For them to come home and help them groom them so they don't have to look back to what they left in the community, or those who did go to college and did have that fortunate side. So I get to see both sides and live that college girl life at the same time of remembering where I also came from. So
I would just add that mentorship is really important, and I would challenge you to look for mentors that don't look like you.
Yes.
And don't have the same experience. On my short list, and mentorship doesn't have to be a formal, like, you know, big brother, big sister thing. You're like, oh God, I got to adopt this kid for 6 summers. You know, like, it doesn't have to be that. But on my text right now, if I showed you my text, I've got my rabbi, Bob, that I talk to, right? Older Jewish man who's a rabbi. I have billionaire Jewish white guy. Wow, there's a theme going here. Okay, I need to diversify my, no. But it runs the gamut, right? Some of my best friends are avid Trump supporters, right? I got a guy who's NYPD. He is a Trump through and through. And I was like, if we didn't know each other, you probably arrest me and shoot me. You know what I mean? Like, he is like on that end of the spectrum. But you know what? I need to have people with different voices to make me a better person, right? So I would say, mentorship does not have to be so formal, right? It can just be you being vulnerable and asking for a question, seeking advice. It should not all look like you. And you should also, on the other side, think of how to help others in a way that doesn't take a lot of work. So for instance, there's two young ladies in the room right here, and I hope some of you guys meet them a little bit later. Just raise your hand really quick. These two young ladies, the one in the pink is my niece, and this is her friend. They're from Ireland. The one young lady, African American from Belfast. Not a lot of black people in Belfast. Black Irish, right? The two of them here, and I said, you know what? You need to be in this room. You need to see empowering women. Now, is that mentorship? I think it is. But it was just that quick to say, hey, Karen, I have these two young ladies that are summering internships in D.C. I would love for them to see some powerful women. How transformative is that? So when they go back to Ireland, they will have had this experience with all of you. So mentorship, yes. Flip side of that is those are those easy, quick things we can do, right? When I go to speak, I always ask, can I have an extra ticket? I would love to bring someone that I know in that city, right? I'm speaking in Denver. I got a girlfriend there. Her daughter would love to have her come to that engagement. So many easy, quick ways mentorship can happen.
I also think I think the word mentor, to be honest, I don't think about the word that much. Like, I think it's a weird word. I don't hear men saying that word very much.
No.
And I hear women say that word a lot. And I almost feel like it's like they have to have it like a formal process, like you said, like this is my mentor, like, and I'm like, no, you know what, like the most people who have influenced my life are people I don't even know. Like, I've either read their books or I've like listened to their videos online. Like, to me, they're my mentor. I might not have even met them, but I think we should reframe how we use that word mentor to really broaden and just your intellectual curiosity. It doesn't have to be the person next to you. I mean, that's how I got out of the trailer park and the tent where I was, the misery that I was raised in, the abuse and the poverty. I didn't have no mentors in my trailer park. So I had to find them through the library. I had to find them through the internet.
I think that's a phenomenal thought to end on, because I think Karen's trying to pull the curtain on us.
No, first of all, as I said earlier, that this was the best panel we've ever assembled. And I didn't want to say that publicly so I wouldn't hurt any feelings. I have a few quick announcements. The panel needs to take a photo because I want you to have time to network. But of course, Microsoft is going to tell us gently to get out of here. This is my dream manifested. And I am so thankful for this panel. So I want to hand them their gifts really quickly. And then don't go anywhere because you're going to get a couple other gifts. First of all, there are so many amazing things in store for the Spectrum Circle. I am blessed beyond measure that these women took their time to pour into each of you tonight. And what they don't know outside of Gala is that each one of them is written into my strategic plan for 2018. Of the new products and services that the Spectrum Circle is going to be announcing soon. So I have to pour back into them the way they pour back into me.
We love you.
I love you. I love you more. The other thing that Cheryl helped me with today, and due to the generosity of Microsoft, this panel was recorded live onto YouTube. So congratulations. This is awesome. I want you guys to have time to network. So I have a gift. All of the panelists that are here will be receiving a free ticket to next year's Spectrum Circle Awards. Also, I am going to give a random gift to one of our attendees, and she's from HUD, I believe. She came with Gerald. She's a guest of Gerald. I have a Spectrum Circle pillow for you. Where are you from? Richmond, Virginia.
Beautiful.
So I wanted to make sure that we honored the people who traveled from far and wide to come here. Just so you know, Jatoka Edie was stuck in Silicon Valley. If you've been following the Twitter feed, she's been tweeting She couldn't get back to DC in time, and she apologizes. This panel is unbelievable. The knowledge you ladies gained, and gentlemen, gained today is just so powerful. A few people on our panel know this, but we had a sitting U.S. Congresswoman RSVP for this event, and she canceled a little bit right before the panel started because she wanted to hear their stories. That is just an amazing for each of you and your accomplishments. And I honor and thank each one of you so much. Mm-hmm. So we want to give you your gifts and take a moment to take a photo. The other thing I'm going to do, I normally give gifts, and tonight I didn't give gifts. Forgive my heart and not my mind that I was just too busy. So everyone who registered for tonight, we have 2 events coming up in the fall. If you are a registered attendee, you will be free to the next 2 Spectrum Circle events.
Wow.
That is your gift from me. And ladies, could you please stand and take a photo together?
Shauna. Thank you. I'm going to take the...
I feel like we should have a panel for people who are single and doing startups. Like,
Oh, it's so